Hello everyone, Daniel and Chris here with the Superhero shirt. Daniel and Chris here. Normal service has returned.
Not to those pretenders.
No. After much searching, the prodigal son has returned home to Marvel. Spider-Man has been cast. We have a director. It's been announced this week.
Another Brit playing an American superhero. We're all over this. We got this covered.
We've got Spider-Man down now.
Tom Holland, a 19-year-old British actor, has been cast. I'll kick off with a couple of quotes. One from Marvel. Kevin Feige said, the studios and producers were impressed by Holland's performance in The Impossible Wolf Hall and the upcoming In the Heart of the Sea, and by a series of complex screen tests. And Amy Pascal at Sony said, Sony, Marvel, Kevin and I all knew that for Peter Parker, we had to find a vibrant, talented young actor capable of embodying one of the most well-known characters in the world. With Tom, we found the perfect actor to bring Spider-Man's story into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So yeah, he went up against 1,500 other actors. Mm-hmm. We knew about the last 4 or 5. He signed on for at least 4 movies, they've said. He's going to immediately go to the Atlanta set of Civil War.
Because they were being quite cagey about this. Because for a long while we thought he would make his debut in Civil War.
Yeah.
But obviously they were not going to say anything until they had the guy cast. But yeah, he's going to go straight there. And that's where we're going to see him for the first time.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
It is really exciting. So we're going to talk a bit about Tom Holland, what we think he'll bring to the role, what we make of our new Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And it's fair to say, immediately, they've gone young. When we knew they were doing that all along, they want to tell the story of Spider-Man, the boy, really. The boy who becomes Spider-Man once he dons the mask.
Yeah, I think they've not gone that young, though, because he's 19, but he looks younger.
Yeah, I think
that's kind of what's happened here, is that they've not actually cast a 15 or 16-year-old to play their own age. They've cast someone a little bit older with a bit more experience.
Which usually happens in Hollywood. You kind of get people, at least it's not embarrassing, like you got someone 30 trying to play 16.
Yeah.
Which sometimes happens, which
is a bit
awkward. And I think what they thought with the Raimi movies, which, are very much of their time now, and I think maybe they've not dated so well in certain places, but they made him grow up very quickly.
Yeah.
Very soon he was living in New York, he was got a job, he was kind of going to school in some scenes, but not other ones. And with the Amazing Spider-Man movies, they were kind of falling into that trap as well, just they can't wait until he gets old.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Marvel really want to explore the origin of the character, which for so long was this teenage kid.
Yeah.
Which they only ever really did in Amazing Spider-Man, like when he needed to pick up eggs and stuff like that. So I think they really want to delve into that much more in this. It's true though. It's like, oh, you're always trying to get me to pick up eggs.
First note to Sony: no egg picking up.
Yeah, I don't want that in this movie.
I have actually seen quite a bit of this young actor.
Okay.
So let's go through his career and what we kind of know about him. Firstly, do you know who his dad is?
It's not Tom Hollander.
It's not Tom Hollander.
Slightly different surname.
It's a guy called Dominic Holland, who I do know. Like in the 90s, he was in a lot of panel shows. He's a comedian.
Yeah,
that's his dad.
That's his dad.
Yeah.
Okay, Rich, try and find some B-roll of Dominic Holland from the mid-90s.
Yeah, quite likeable, really smart. He's written a few books. Comedy writer as well as performer. You don't see so much of him these days, but doesn't need to. Live off his son now. I might have seen Tom Holland in Billy Elliot. Now, I saw Billy Elliot on the stage years ago, and this was kind of his break. He was in a street dance crew, and he got spotted and got the role of Billy Elliot, one of many that played him in the kind of London theatre production. So I might have seen him, but I'm not entirely sure. But so what we do know about him from that is that he's a dancer. He's very physical.
Movement, yeah. And also, just a few days ago, if you go on to Tom Holland's Instagram account, he posted 3 videos. Have you seen these? Of him backflipping and somersaulting. He can do some of this stuff. Obviously, he's not going to do all the stunts because there's a lot of CGI, but he can do some of the stuff.
Yeah, if you go back, he's done that. He's done that for a while. So he's obviously a gymnast as well as a dancer. His first big role was The Impossible, which is probably what he's best known for. Tsunami drama. It was well received critically, but at the time, a lot of people talked about him, and he is kind of the heart and soul of that movie. And he's called Ewan McGregor and Naomi Watts got great reviews for that film, but every review sort of picked him out as a really likeable actor that was able to do the more light-hearted stuff and the really heavy drama as well. So he's got a bit of range already from his first role.
I like the idea of him being a showman.
Yeah.
Because that's why I always think about Spider-Man the character. He can be this deferential, insecure kid, puts on the mask, goes out to perform, and just loves it. Really embraces that side of being a hero.
You see his vulnerability in that film, which I think would be great to see in Spider-Man as well. And then he went on to do a film called How I Live Now, which is kind of an adaptation of a young adult novel about a nuclear bomb going off in London and these kids in the countryside trying to survive without any parents around. Saoirse Ronan is the lead. He plays her cousin, or I can't exactly remember. He's really good in that. And then more recently, he's been in Wolf Hall. And yeah, they mentioned in the press release that we're about to see him in The Heart of the Sea, which is Ron Howard's new
the whale
sort of Moby Dick
alongside Chris Hemsworth.
Who?
You see Spider-Man and Thor in a movie before too long.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good shout.
Yeah.
So yeah, although he hasn't done a huge amount, it's all been really strong.
Yeah, you can see like possible things why they might have longlisted him initially, because it's like ticks quite a few boxes that you would look for in your Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So,
and I've watched a few interviews with him. I haven't interviewed him myself, but online since this was announced, and he comes across really likeable, really kind of fun, easygoing, smart, down-to-earth kid. So
he also had to screen test alongside Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, which is no mean feat, and they've both given him the thumbs up.
Yeah, they said that basically he got the role because of his chemistry with Downey Jr. So one imagines we might see them sharing a few scenes in the movie based on that.
Definitely. So we both approve?
Yeah.
Yeah, he seems like a good choice on paper. We liked him in what we've seen of him so far. Do you like Tom Holland as the new Peter Parker Spider-Man? If so, let us know at superheroShow@IGN.com. And even if you disagree. There's been even more Spider-Man news this week. We didn't just get Tom Holland as Peter Parker. We got a new director directing the spin-off movie, or the standalone Spider-Man movie, which is what I keep forgetting about. All focus on him entering the MCU, but there's going to be Spider-Man movies in the MCU as well.
Happening 2 summers' time.
And this guy, bit out of nowhere, really.
Yeah, Jon Watts.
Yeah.
Someone who, yet again, I've seen his work, thankfully.
Good.
I've been doing my homework. So Jon Watts directed one movie called Clown, which we covered. It came out earlier in the year. Bit of an interesting story behind Clown. Him and his mate made a fake trailer for a film that didn't exist called Clown, about a guy who puts on a clown suit and then can't take it off, and it kind of possesses him and he starts killing people. And then at the end of the trailer, just as a joke, they said directed by Eli Roth, because it really had the tone of a Hostel. Yeah. And Eli Roth then got in touch with them and said, let's make this. And they were like, you're not going to sue us? He was like, no, I won't sue you if there's a chance of us making money. Let's do this. So yeah, they made the movie Clown. I've seen it. It's okay. It's quite good fun.
Yeah, it's kind of got like some good reviews, some kind of mixed reviews.
Yeah,
but it's kind of saying it's an interesting movie.
Super low budget, but it straddles the tone between horror and comedy, and it's just, I felt like it was just a black comedy rather than being one or the other. Which is something maybe he could bring to this universe. And then since then he's made a film that hasn't come out in the UK, so we haven't been able to see it, called Cop Car, which was got good reviews out of Sundance. But interestingly, it's about a couple of kids who find a policeman's car, steal it, and then get hunted down by said policeman, who's played by Kevin Bacon. And there's something mysterious or unexpected in the trunk of the car that kind of sets the plot in motion. So perhaps they saw something in him being able to direct kids.
Yeah.
And again, the tone of that one kind of is thrillerish, but also kind of a black comedy.
And it's been well received as well, hasn't it? Very well received.
It's got some good reviews. So I'll tell you what Kevin Feige said about him. He said, as with James Gunn, Joss Whedon and the Russo brothers, we love finding new and exciting voices to bring these characters to life. We spent a lot of time with John and find his take and work inspiring. And I think I've heard the Russo brothers talk about this. Their pitch went on for 6 months pretty much. They discussed every side of Captain America Winter Soldier before they got the gig. They knew exactly what they were doing with the help of Marvel's experts, putting it all together. So I'm guessing this guy's a bit of a newcomer, but he would have gone through the same.
Definitely. And like, it's very hard to judge like the way that the Marvel work, like the Russo brothers, when that was initially announced, it was like, really, these guys? Look at them now, they're helming Infinity War.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Nailed it.
And it's just like, I think to do these kind of movies, and this is maybe where Edgar Wright didn't find the room to stay on at Marvel, is that it's a supremely collaborative affair where you're working with multiple directors across different threads, different screenplay writers, and you've got to kind of have a degree of deference. But there was also something about his tone, the 2 movies he's made, particularly Cop Car, that they've seen something that can apply to Spider-Man. And he says that he has a really unique take on it.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see what his unique take on it, because it's going to have to be a very different Spider-Man that we get this time, because whereas Spider-Man was one of the founding characters of the Marvel comic universe, and he was one of the first characters we saw on the big screen, he's now entering a world where all these other characters are established. So that character will be, by definition, a different type of hero.
And I wonder if it will be quite a comedic take, because we know how heavy things are going to get in Civil War. He's just going to show up, this happy-go-lucky kid. I wonder if he'll bring some humour to that movie. And equally, Jon Watts, his background, his adverts and music videos, but also he's done a lot of comedy. He worked for the Onion Network for years.
Yeah.
Shot a lot of stuff for them. He's done short films that sound like they're probably not that serious. Jewish Santa is Coming is one of them. So I wonder if they see that he's got these comedy chops that he's going to be able to bring to maybe a more light-hearted Spider-Man movie.
I think that would work really well. And if we think that maybe the character Robert Downey Jr. plays, Tony Stark, is kind of maybe becoming less of a focal point for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you were a screenplay writer, what's his function? Obviously, he's kind of the embedded antagonist of the heroes team.
Yeah.
But he's also the wisecracker.
Yeah.
He delivers a lot of the best lines. And who's the best one-liner deliverer in the Marvel Universe? It's Spider-Man, really.
Yeah.
So he very much could become the replacement for Iron Man.
He's going to mentor him in gags.
Yeah, that's
a
superhero. I'll watch that scene. It's like, this is what the team needs. You need a bit of relief, a little bit of levity.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a good shout, because I think it seemed like the Mark Webb stuff was taking us down the dark road. You know, the last one we saw, obviously the most tragic thing happened in the Spider-Man universe when Stacy died. That was very much on that trajectory. Sorry.
I haven't seen it yet.
That's where we're going. So I feel like don't need to do any of that anytime soon, or if ever, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Let's see a kid who enjoys being Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people, I saw it on some boards where people are like, why do people care about Spider-Man? It's like, I don't think we've seen for a long time on the big screen why you should care about Spider-Man. Yeah. He's a fun character.
Yep.
And I really hope he brings that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we think of Jon Watts so far. Have you seen either of his movies? Let us know what you think about him at superheroShow@IGN.com.
Right, fancy some feedback?
Yeah.
I have the first piece from Ryan Pollard, talking about Tom Holland playing Spider-Man. He says, I think he's a great choice after delivering knockout performances in The Impossible and Wolf Hall, and I think he'll bring the perfect balance of vulnerability and humour that Spider-Man requires. Still unsure about Jon Watts directing What Happened to Drew Goddard, but I think Holland will knock it out of the park and create an iconic Spidey.
Yeah.
I think we've agreed already in this show, but that's what did happen to Drew Goddard.
Well, we were talking about this just in the office the other day, and 3 months ago, I just put my money on the table. I was like, I'm sure he's going to get it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel so sad for him, because he obviously loves that character and that part of the Marvel Universe. Went to Sony to help oversee and build something with Mark Webb, and he's just fallen through the cracks.
Yeah, I was transcribing my interview with Matt Damon on the set of The Martian last week, and in that he talks about the fact he signed up for The Martian because Drew Goddard, who was directing at the time, convinced him and he wanted to work with this, young, up-and-coming, exciting director. And then he said, but of course he got Sinister Six, which he's a comic book guy, that was his dream gig, so we couldn't stop him doing that. And you think, like a year on,
That's what happened with Daredevil as well. He left Daredevil.
Yeah.
He's got screenwriting credits on the first 2 or 3 episodes of Daredevil. He left that because this was the Marvel gig he really wanted.
Yeah.
And I think it's nothing to do with him as a creative talent.
No.
It's just by circumstance and fate. Poor bloke. I really hope he'll find the Marvel movie for him at some point.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of talent. Next up is Ewan. I recently finished watching Daredevil on Netflix, and despite how amazing it was, and also how different to anything else Marvel has created so far, I was wondering whether or not you think they're going to give Daredevil his own film or not at some point. I know I would definitely love it if they did, and also now that they've announced the inclusion of Punisher for Season 2, I wonder if he may be the next character to get his own TV show depending on how well the fans take to him.
Yes and yes. We'll definitely get a Daredevil film, I think.
Really?
I do. I really do. I think not anytime soon.
Okay.
But I think we will see a Daredevil film, and we'll definitely see a Punisher series, unless people hate the character, which I can't believe they will.
Yeah, I think what we might get is you might get a mini series, because Netflix is so fluid. They could just do 6 episodes, or they could tack it on to the end of a season of Daredevil shooting wise, or something like that.
And plus, I feel like this will be an origin story for Punisher in Daredevil, and then when he does get his own spin-off, he can just hit the ground running as the Punisher.
Yeah,
he'll kick this off as Frank Castle.
Be interesting to see how he's introduced, because I think he'll be villain, but then by the end of it, he'll unite and fight side by side with Daredevil. I think they'll do something like that. I don't know if we will see Charlie Cox's Daredevil on the big screen. I think we'll see him in the big screen as part of an ensemble, but I think it's hard to do unless they start bringing in more of the supernatural elements. I feel like that could warrant it being on the big screen, like a big war against the hand or something like that. That could be the event that warrants a transition to the big screen, perhaps. Yeah.
Well, we will see. We've got years and years, though. He's obviously not doing it in the next 5 years because they've got all those films scheduled, but I believe they will. Matt Evans writes in and says, okay, well, we all know there will be a third Thor movie that will be about the ending of all things, Ragnarok. But here is something that Marvel might want to do with the movie. What if they bring the Hulk into the film? And like in the animated movie Thor vs. Hulk, Hulk starts to destroy almost everything in Thor's world. I'd like to see that. Now, I know that would have to be a big explanation of how the Hulk made it into Thor's world, but this would be perfect setup for Planet Hulk, or even better, World War Hulk movie. What do you think, Dan?
I think we're not going to see Hulk for a while.
No.
I think dramatically they're going to keep him out of the films for a long time and then bring him back for a big dramatic... Because one of the best scenes in any Marvel movie is when he turns up in Manhattan and he goes, "That's my secret, Cap. I'm always angry." I think they'll want to just take him away from the Marvel Universe for a while. So you can reintroduce him in something like Infinity War, where really everything is against him. You have this big heroic entrance. Because he's too powerful a character at the moment. And also, talking about a spin-off movie, only this week we found out that the rights are a bit more complicated than we knew about. So Universal still retain distribution rights.
Yeah.
Which is actually no obstacle. If Marvel still wanted to make a Hulk movie, it just means Universal have first turn down of the distribution, and a lot of the early Marvel movies were distributed by other studios before the Disney acquisition. Paramount distributed Iron Man and maybe the first Thor movie as well.
Paramount did Captain America, I think.
Did they? Yeah, and so that's until Disney got behind them and gave them that kind of infrastructure. So it's not unthinkable, but I just don't think they want to tackle that character on the big screen in a standalone movie. They've got too many other characters they could launch that are probably better suited now. Final email of the week is from Andrew in Dundee. After reading the article on IGN about Batman Beyond movie that never was, I began pondering how awesome it would be to actually have that movie become a reality. Unfortunately, with the focus of creating shared universes that both Marvel and DC characters like Terry McGinnis are left out, with little opportunity for the stories to be told. My question then is, do you think we could eventually get a Batman Beyond film, and what other characters would benefit from a return to the standalone format?
I think you could see that happen. If they feel like they've had enough of Bruce Wayne and we need a break from Bruce Wayne, if another trilogy follows, Batman v Superman, then I think it's an interesting way to keep the story going, but by doing something new.
Definitely. I think that's what comics have done for so long, because the backbone of Marvel and DC's business is these ongoing continuities, which is kind of what we'll have running in film very soon. Marvel's already up and running. And what they do to kind of overcome that, or to satisfy great writers or artists, is say, just do a one shot, do something separate to continuity. And I think with the right sort of messaging, you could do that. Hey, this is a futuristic Spider-Man, just as a one shot, just as to give audiences something they've not seen before. I could see maybe when I think everyone's riding this wave where everyone's super interested in all these movies, but we might get to a point where things fatigue a bit, and that might be the tactic they kind of adopt for a little bit.
I would give it 10 years and then cast Michael Keaton as the aging Bruce Wayne in Batman Beyond. Job done. Absolutely sorted it.
Nailed it, Chris.
As for who I'd like to see get standalone, we all really liked Quicksilver in X-Men last summer. I wonder if the popularity of that character will grow through Apocalypse, and if he could get his own movie.
Yeah,
it was the breakout character of last summer, apart from the Guardians. Equally, the one I really wanted to see, and we nearly got, was Magneto. And so there was going to be one, and then it got cancelled, and then it turned to X-Men First Class, and we got 20 minutes of it. But I want to see 90 minutes of that movie.
That sounds good.
Nazi hunting Magneto.
But also imagine them just dropping the Quicksilver movie just before The Flash came out. Sorry about that, lads.
That would be funny.
Oh, people go think we're pro-Marvel again then, and anti-DC. That's what people always think. There's a conspiracy theory at work. Not at all.
No, I just said I wanted my Michael Keaton Batman Beyond. So that's feedback for this week. Let us know what you think about any of these questions or any you want to ask us at superheroshow@ign.com.
So Spider-Man's not just going to be in Civil War and other Marvel movies. He's going to get his own movies in the Marvel Universe. So we're just going to talk a little bit about what we still think can be done with that character on the big screen and what he can do in the Marvel Universe, where a lot of it's obviously already up and running.
Well, I'd like to reiterate what we were talking about before, but use the word angst. I'm done with angst.
Yeah.
I'm done with emo. Let's bring the fun back.
The dancing back.
Well, we know this kid can dance.
No more dancing
sequence. No dance sequence. What about origin story? Do we need an Uncle Ben? I
don't think we need an Uncle Ben. As in, we don't need to see it. I think Uncle Ben needs to exist. I think Aunt May needs to exist. Some of that machinery has to exist because it's just integral to the character.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be foregrounded. And it doesn't have to be integral because there's already a lot more interesting stuff in that Marvel universe. And we don't need to see the origin story we've seen before, but I feel like we're going to see something of an origin story, i.e. he's coming into this world and he's going to have to side in the Civil War, or he's going to figure it in it. He's going to get sucked up into it in some way, which is kind of going to become his origin story in a way. So whether he sides with Captain America or whether he sides with Tony Stark, they're going to influence this young kid who's just going to become a superhero. These are the most iconic superheroes in the world, and they're going to be giving him advice. That's an origin story in a way. It actually sounds really interesting.
Yeah. But I wonder if we're going to see him turn, the initial moment in Civil War, or, there's no reason why this film couldn't have flashbacks and forwards and things. I wonder what they're going to do. Equally, villains. Yeah. What do you want to see happen villain-wise?
So many great Spider-Man villains. Like, I think he's, often talk about how great Batman's kind of rogues gallery is. I think on the Marvel side, Spider-Man's is definitely one of the strongest. But I would really like to see new ones. Like, I guess the temptation for Marvel is there's so many great characters that they've never had the ability to play with. They've never had the Norman Osborn or the Doc Ock, and it'd be great for them to suddenly go, oh God, what could we do with them in the Marvel Universe?
Interestingly, Feige said in an interview this week that Feige then added that part of the agreement made between Sony and Marvel would allow for some of the MCU characters to appear in future Spider-Man films, which I think means that it will happen the other way as well. I think that's a distinct possibility.
Yeah, I think it has to be free-flowing, otherwise it's always going to feel like a partitioned part of the universe, which you don't want this ghetto existing. You want it to feel authentic, which is why they made the deal in the first place.
Plus you want the right villain for the right story.
Yeah. And there's loads of great ones. And also, going back the other way, we were just talking about would Daredevil ever get his own movie? In the comics, Daredevil and Spider-Man are both very New York neighborhood hero characters. It'd be great to see them on screen together because Daredevil's as serious as you can probably get in the Marvel Universe right now, and against his levity. Because in the comic, Spider-Man always making fun of Daredevil. Like, he once says to him, you've got a double D on your chest. You do realise Daredevil just, it's just one word. Just like that, kind of like poking fun at him, which would be really funny to see.
Yeah.
So I would like to see that. And then villains, I'd like them to go like Mysterio or Kraven or Vulture. Or I think they could do an interesting version of Venom because, let's face it, the Marvel Universe has the cosmic thing up and running, whereas to do it all in one movie pretty much in Spider-Man 3 was just too much.
Yeah.
Whereas the Guardians of the Galaxy could bring back a symbiote easy.
Yeah. But what about the Sinister Six? They had those big plans for the Sinister Six. They've gone by the wayside. Do you think they might resurrect them and rather than go the direction you're saying?
Yeah, because there's a proposed trilogy of Spider-Man movies. I think what they'll want to do, because I can't remember the exact wording of the deal they struck with Marvel back in February, but it was something like, we want the authenticity, the Marvel authenticity. And I think the best way to do that would be to distance themselves with what they were going down and import stuff from the Marvel Universe. So whether that's tapping into the cosmic stuff they're doing, Or there's even runs in the Spider-Man comics where, like Madam Web, where you're tapping into the supernatural. So they might look at Doctor Strange and go, he's a New York-based hero.
Yeah.
Can we do something there? And like, I think they'll be smart if they look at what films are coming up in the Marvel roster and get those directors and writers collaborating.
Yeah, sure. One question I wanted to ask you, which is kind of bothering me. Do you think it's a missed opportunity that in the week they announced Miles Morales for the comics, that we've got another white, Peter Parker Spider-Man?
Yeah, I'm not.
Do you think it just feels like it would, if they were going to do it any time, the time to tie it all in together would be now when it's happening in the comics and there's a break and we need a new Spider-Man.
Yeah, I guess for Marvel, I guess it all comes back to, because Stan Lee talked about this as well, because he said that we saw that there was those rights that were leaked, that Peter Parker or Spider-Man, the Sony one, has to stay straight and he has to stay white. And Stan Lee saying it's nothing about being racist or homophobic. It's literally, that's what the Peter Parker character is. Just as the Black Panther character is black, why change it? Yeah. I'm not against other interpretations. And the whole great thing about Spider-Man is Spider-Man the character could be anyone. Yeah. It's got a mask on. It's just Peter Parker is that character. It just happens to be the way he was created. I think it probably stems more from Marvel wanting to, like, their most famous character is Peter Parker, and they want to do him on the big screen.
Stick with tradition and
and like everything else apart from that universe has been heavily adapted, but it's still recognisably classic Marvel. Yeah, they've now got onto like later stuff, which if this kind of craze keeps on going for 20 years, I'm sure we're going to have a lot more of these newer characters. Gwen, Spider-Gwen even. You could get more kind of experimental, but I think that happens in the comics because you're trading off against 40 years of continuity that you're kind of having a conversation with. Yeah. Whereas here, like, it's still classic Marvel pretty much.
Yep. So thanks for watching. If you want to get in touch with us, ask us any questions or respond to anything we talked about in the show, it is superheroshow@ign.com. And as ever, keep it tuned to IGN for all your superhero needs.